sounded very good despite technical problems. You know, all the feedback is not their problem.
Ms. Comstock and Dr. Poole. Time and again, ordinary people have served our nation in extraordinary ways so that all Americans can pursue happiness our founding fathers envisioned. By their service, they have kept America strong and they have protected our way of life for more than 2 centuries. The restoration of the observance of Veterans Day to November
I am honored to be introducing our speaker of this morning. Her name is Sarah Beck. Oh, okay. I will be introducing Ms. Sarah Beck. She's going to be our speaker today. She is the co-founder and director of United on Guns. It is an initiative of the Public Health Advocacy Institute at Northeastern University School of Law. United on Guns promotes public health approaches to reducing gun violence while also respecting the rights of responsible gun owners. Ms. Peck is a regular op-ed contributor on subjects relating to mass shootings and gun violence prevention. She and her team recently conducted research and have used the experience of mayors and first responders to develop a mass shooting protocol and playbook for mayors to use to prepare for, respond to, and help their communities recover from mass shootings. As well as this, prior to her work on United on Guns, she also served for 15 years at the U.S. Department. A national security and rule of law expert, she served overseas in Afghanistan, Iraq, the Philippines, and the Czech Republic, and France. She also served in Washington at the U.S. Department of State Office of Pakistan Affairs, at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee as a Pearson Fellow, and the Carnegie Endowment of International Peace, where she published a paper to persuade the oil industry to take their action to mitigate the so-called oil curse. Ms. Peck also co-founded an anti-corruption initiative at ISAF headquarters in Afghanistan with General H.R. McMaster, the former National Security Advisor. She was the first executive director of the U.S.-Pakistan Women's Council, then at American University, a public-private partnership that promotes education and empowerment of Pakistan women and girls. Ms. Peck received 2 Superior Honor Awards and numerous meritorious honor awards for her diplomatic service. In 2010, she was nominated for the Robert C. Fraser Memorial Award for her policy leadership promoting rule of law and anti-corruption reforms in Afghanistan. Prior to entering state, Ms. Peck worked for 8 years as an attorney at Goodwin Procter and Sustain in Boston, and as general counsel for a software company in Paris, France. She is a graduate of the University of Florida and Northeastern University School of Law. She serves on the board of Friends of the American University of Afghanistan. If you're interested in her work after she speaks, you can follow her on Twitter on United on Guns. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? I hope so. Thank you very much, Cameron. I didn't expect to have all of that read, but now everyone knows all my secrets. You know what I've been up to for the past 20 years or so. Can you give a thumbs up if you can hear me? Yes? Okay, great. Thank you. I am really honored to be here today. I have served in war zones with our military, with General Petraeus, with General McMaster, with generals and colonels and sergeants and troops in Afghanistan. I served in Erbil, Iraq, 30 miles from the Islamic State. And I have nothing but great respect for the intellect and courage and compassion of our fighting forces. They are truly the most disciplined and honorary military force in the world, and we are very honored to have their service. I thought it would be interesting to talk to you today a bit about my service in Afghanistan. That's been in the news lately, but even just in more general terms, because my goal is to interest at least one person listening today to consider pursuing a career in the State Department as a diplomat. It has been an unbelievable experience for me, and I hope that I will convince you that this is something that you might be interested in pursuing. This all got started for me when I was working as an attorney in Paris, France, and the day was September 11th. And colleagues came running into my office, speechless, and asked me to turn on the internet and look at what was happening. And like the rest of the world, I was horrified. But being overseas at that time and seeing how the world responded made me understand first that there were huge security issues out there that I didn't understand. And I felt called to do something about it. And I think, first of all, I want to highlight that call to service is something that if you ever have that, if you think of it, you should pursue that. It led me to applying for the State Department. It's a long process, which I'd be happy to describe to anyone who would like to know more about that. You can learn more on the State Department website. But it led me into the State Department, into a terrific career that lasted 15 years, as Cameron detailed for you. I went to the Czech Republic and worked with Czechs on establishing and strengthening their democracy after decades of rule by the Soviet Union and war during World War II. I went to the Philippines, where the relationship that the U.S. has with the Philippines has secured our interests in the Pacific for decades, since World War II and even before. I served in Afghanistan. I worked on rule of law issues and anti-corruption issues. And as you have seen since, there were serious problems in that regard there. I was not able to make a difference, but we did everything we could through our military support, through our subject matter expertise, through our advocacy, to try to help that government stand up a country that would educate girls and boys and provide opportunities and peace and stability for that country. And perhaps on a different day, I could talk to you more about my views on what didn't work. But I can say, when I was there in 2009, we tried our best to protect the interests of the United States government, the reason why we were there, but also to make a better country for the Afghans, and they do deserve that. I went on to Pakistan. I worked on human rights issues. I worked on promoting democracy. I've had an extraordinary opportunity to understand how our government works and what our interests are overseas. So what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about the work of the State Department generally and how a person pursues a career in the State Department. As a person interested in an overseas life, a lot of that work is overseas. You have the opportunity to promote trade, to protect environmental interests, to promote human rights for women, girls, and other groups who do not have the opportunities that we have in the United States. We work together with our other country partners to promote the interests that help make this world a more stable place. And it is the soft power that we use that complements the military power that we have that helps secure our place as a leader in the world policy making and security. So I'd like to encourage you to consider a career in the State Department. You would be thinking in terms of studies in international relations or in business, English. You need a good college education, but really whatever your interests might be, you can then, after you finish your college degree, you can start pursuing the course of action that would take you into the State Department, whether it's intelligence gathering or whether it's reporting or whether it's managing the outlets that we have overseas, the embassies and the other facilities. So I'm going to stop there and salute the military leaders that have represented or have secured our interests overseas, but also all the people in the State Department who have also served in war zones to protect U.S. interests overseas. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for sharing your message with us today, Ms. Peck. At this time, as soon as we have the screen go up, our symphony band, under the director of Mr. Castor, will America's finest. Thank you, Mr. Castor and members of the Symphony Band. According to the Department of Defense website on military funeral honors, TAPS was written in July of 1862 after the grueling seven-day battle in the Civil War. Oliver Wilcox Norton, the brigade bugler, and Union General Daniel Adams Butterfield worked out the tune together.
just fade so easily. I think they're retiring the flag right now. I think that's what's happening. They're taking down the flag. I'm assuming that's happening.
Please be seated. Thank you for the respect that you have shown this morning. 103 years ago tomorrow, World War I, the war to end all wars, came to a close. In fact, Veterans Day itself was created in 1919 to coincide with this solemn anniversary. And yet, within a generation, the war to end all wars has given way to World War II, and the world was reminded anew of the horrors of combat and of the scourge of genocide. And so it has gone on for successive generations and successive conflicts up through the present day. It is a sad truth that few, if any, Americans have lived the balance of their lives without seeing their country engaged in some kind of war. It is against this backdrop that we should consider the role of our veterans. Time and again, often in hours of great need, our country has put out a call for service, and the brave men and women of our armed forces have answered. And make no mistake, they have not answered because they longed for war. Quite the opposite. As General Douglas MacArthur said himself, the soldier, above all others, prays for peace, for it is the soldier who must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war. Our veterans and their families know better than anyone the wounds and scars of war, some visible, some invisible, and still they report for duty. So what then is our duty to them? How does one repay that kind of service? Anytime I have asked a veteran this question to a person, I have received an almost identical response. They have said the best thanks we could receive is for you to live a good life, celebrating the freedoms that have made this nation great. So I extend that invitation, that challenge to you. If you want to honor our veterans, pursue a life of honor, integrity, and service. Support those in your community who may not be strong enough to support themselves. Shine the light of freedom and liberty where darkness has crept in. While relatively few of us may ever stand a post or wear the uniform, all of us should stand shoulder to shoulder in a collective salute for our veterans, not only on ceremonial days such as this, but also in our everyday routines. Let the lives we live be the thank you we offer. I thank all of you again, all of you in the audience, all of you that are watching from our classrooms today, for the respect that you have shown this morning. A special thank you to Ms. Comstock, Mr. Castor, Dr. Houle, and our choir and our symphony band. It was so good to have you back here in this auditorium where we could hear you and enjoy all that you have to offer. I thank you again, and I ask you, tomorrow, yes, it is a day off, but please remember our veterans. Please take the time tomorrow to think about them and to think about how you can honor them through your acts of kindness throughout the day tomorrow and throughout your life. Again, I thank you very much for the respect that you have shown today. It is good to have this auditorium filled as well. I thank Ms. Peck for joining us. I know there are a little bit of technological issues, but I am grateful to Mr. Murray and our help desk students for all that you have done to make this possible today so all of us could be part of the Veterans Day Assembly. I wish you all a wonderful day, and it looks like it is 9:53, so you will report back to your period 2 classrooms for those of you that are in the auditorium, and then you will all move on to your period 3 classrooms until 10:19. Again, I I could not be more proud of all of you and the respect that you've shown on this most important day as we recognize Veterans Day tomorrow. Thank you very much. I wish you a wonderful day.
Does that mean now? I think so. Let me just double check with my colleagues across the hall. I think